When life gets overwhelming, it often feels like the world is spinning too fast and you're just trying to hold on. The pressure builds, expectations, disappointments, confusion, and somewhere along the way, your peace slips through your fingers. You may find yourself asking silent questions in the middle of the night. Why is this happening? Why now? Maybe you're walking through a season of waiting, or maybe it feels like everything you've trusted in is starting to crumble. Doubts start to creep in. Your faith, once steady, now feels fragile. And in the silence of your own heart, a quiet plea rises. God, where are you in all this? It's in these very moments of exhaustion, of confusion, of inner storms, that we are called to pause. Not to figure everything out, not to fix everything, but simply to breathe, to stop running, stop striving, and remember this one unshakable truth: trust God. Always. But let's be honest, trusting God isn't always easy, especially when the pain is fresh or the future is unclear. Trust isn't just a word we say. It's a decision we make in the middle of the chaos. It's holding on to the belief that God is still good, even when life doesn't feel good. It's choosing to stand on His promises when your emotions are screaming something else entirely. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about knowing that no matter how dark things seem, you're not walking through this alone. The storm may be strong, but so is the one who calms it. So pause, right now, in this very moment. Let the noise fade. Let the questions rest. And hear this whispered reminder to your soul: trust God. Always. Even here, even now, in the world we live in, we're constantly told to take control of our time, our future, our success, our happiness. From a young age, we're taught to stand on our own 2 feet, to chase certainty, and to build a life that's safe, predictable, and secure. We rely on what we can see, what we can understand, what we can measure. We put our faith in routines, in people and plans. And while there's wisdom in being responsible, there's a deeper truth we often forget. We were never meant to carry everything alone. There comes a point where human strength runs out, where the answers don't come, where the plans fall apart, and where control slips from our hands like sand. And in that space of helplessness, we're invited into something sacred: trusting God. Trusting God means choosing to believe even when we can't see the outcome. It means saying yes to His plan, even when it doesn't match our expectations. It's stepping out of our comfort zone and into a deeper dependence, not on ourselves, but on the one who holds all things together. True faith isn't about having it all figured out. It's about walking with God when nothing makes sense. It's knowing that even if the path is unclear, the one who guides us never changes. He is steady, He is faithful, He is kind, and He is far more capable of carrying the weight of our lives than we are. So if you've been struggling to trust, if fear, confusion, or pride has made it hard to let go, know this: you're not alone. And you don't have to have perfect faith to take the next step. Just a willing heart, one that says, God, I don't understand, but I choose to trust you anyway. Trusting God sounds simple until life gets complicated. That's when the real battle begins, not around us, but within us. In our minds, trust is often challenged by a flood of doubts, fears, and what-ifs. We want certainty. We crave explanations. We long for timelines. And when we don't get them, anxiety fills the gaps. Our thoughts begin to spiral. Why is this happening? Did I miss something? Has God forgotten me? It's in these vulnerable moments that trust becomes hardest, not because God is untrustworthy, but because our minds are wired to seek control. And trusting God means surrendering that control. We've all experienced it, the tension between faith and fear. We want to believe God has a plan, but we also want to know what that plan is right now. We pray, but we also worry. We say we trust, but deep down we keep rehearsing every possible outcome in our heads, trying to prepare ourselves for disappointment. This is the silent struggle so many face, the battle between truth and emotion, between what we know and what we feel. And it's exhausting. But here's the truth that grounds us. Trusting God doesn't require us to have all the answers. It simply requires us to believe that He does. Even when we can't see how it will work out, even when we don't understand the timing, God sees the full picture. He's not asking us to predict the future. He's asking us to place the future in His hands. That kind of trust brings peace. Not because our circumstances change instantly, but because our hearts shift from panic to surrender. So in the middle of the mental noise, pause and remind yourself, I don't have to know everything. I just need to trust the one who does. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Those words from Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 are more than just a beautiful verse. They're a daily invitation to surrender. Because the truth is, our understanding is limited. We only see what's right in front of us. We base our decisions on past experiences, current feelings, and what makes the most sense to us in the moment. But God, He sees the beginning, the end, and everything in between. His wisdom isn't bound by time or logic. His ways are higher, deeper, fuller. And trusting Him means letting go of the constant pressure to figure everything out. Surrender is not weakness. It's the deepest form of strength. It's standing in the middle of uncertainty and choosing to say, God, I trust you more than I trust myself. It's choosing peace over panic. It's admitting that we don't have all the answers and that we don't need to. Trusting beyond understanding means we stop leaning on our own perspective and start leaning into His presence. We stop overanalyzing and we start resting. Not because everything is clear, but because we believe He is good, even when the path isn't. Surrender is not a one-time act. It's a moment-by-moment decision. When things don't go our way, when prayers seem unanswered, when doors close, when the waiting stretches on, that's when trust becomes real. That's when surrender becomes powerful. Because when we release control, we make space for God to move. We make room for His wisdom, His timing, His miracles. So even when life feels confusing, even when you're tempted to lean on your own understanding, remember this: God sees what you can't. And He's asking you not to figure it all out, but simply to trust Him and let go. We live in a culture that doesn't like to wait. Everything is fast. Fast food, fast answers, fast fixes. We've been trained to expect results immediately. And when they don't come, frustration builds. But God's timing rarely aligns with ours. He isn't rushed. He isn't pressured. And often, His greatest work in our lives unfolds during the wait. It's in those in-between seasons, when prayers haven't been answered, when doors haven't opened, when nothing seems to be changing, that our faith is truly tested and refined. Waiting is hard because it feels like nothing is happening. But with God, waiting is never wasted. It's a sacred space where patience is deepened, where trust is stretched, and where character is shaped. It's in the waiting that we begin to see our dependence on Him more clearly. We learn to let go of timelines and lean into trust. We discover that faith isn't just believing for the outcome. It's believing while we're still in the middle of the unknown. Trusting God in the waiting means holding on when we feel like giving up. It means choosing to believe that just because we can't see progress doesn't mean there isn't any. God is always working behind the scenes, beneath the surface, in ways we may not understand yet. He's aligning things, preparing hearts, strengthening us. And when the time is right, His answer will come, not a second too early, not a moment too late. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting, don't let discouragement steal your hope. God sees you. He hears you. And He's not ignoring you. He's growing you. Trust that even now, in the silence, He is faithful. Stay the course. Be still. And know, the wait is not the end. It's part of the miracle. When life feels heavy and uncertain, our minds often focus on what's missing, what's broken, or what hasn't happened yet. It's easy to let worry drown out our faith. But one of the most powerful ways to strengthen our trust in God is by simply remembering. Looking back on our lives, we can find moments, quiet or miraculous, where God showed up. Times when He made a way where there was none. Times when His peace calmed our anxious hearts. Times when, though we didn't understand it then, we now see how His hand was guiding us through. God's past faithfulness is not just a memory, it's a promise. It tells us something unshakable about his character. He doesn't forget, he doesn't fail, and he doesn't change. The same God who provided for you before, who healed you, carried you, protected you, comforted you, that same God is with you now. He hasn't grown distant. He hasn't changed his mind about you. His love and commitment to you remain just as strong as they were back then. In seasons of doubt, remembrance becomes an anchor. It quiets the storm inside and reminds us that God has never abandoned us, and he won't start now. Sometimes, the key to enduring the present is recalling the victories of the past. Write them down. Speak them out loud. Let them remind your heart. If he did it before, he can do it again. Trust isn't a leap in the dark. It's built on the solid ground of God's track record, and his record is flawless. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So when fear tries to take hold, respond with memory. When doubt knocks, answer with gratitude. God has been faithful. He still is, and he always will be. Trusting God is not something that happens once and never again. It's a daily decision, a rhythm of the heart. It's not just an emotion that appears when everything is going well. It's an action, a practice, a series of small, intentional choices we make in the face of fear, doubt, or uncertainty. Trust begins when we wake up and decide to pray, even when we feel distant from God. It deepens when we open his word, even if our hearts are heavy. It grows stronger when we lift our voices in worship, not because life is perfect, but because God is still worthy. Each act of trust, no matter how small, strengthens our faith like bricks building a foundation. Choosing not to worry about tomorrow and instead giving today to God, that's trust. Choosing to forgive, choosing to surrender our plans, choosing to thank him in the waiting. Those are steps of faith. And over time, these steps create a life anchored in something unmovable. There will be days when trust feels harder than others, days when the fog won't lift, days when hope feels dim. But even then, choosing to take just one step, a whispered prayer, a moment of silence in his presence, a declaration of truth from his word, can shift everything. It's not about how big the step is. It's about being willing to take it. It tells us we're not safe, that we're not enough, that things won't get better. It whispers worst-case scenarios and screams uncertainty. And when fear grips our hearts, trust feels distant. We start to question everything, our future, our choices, even God's goodness. But over and over again, Scripture tells us the same reassuring truth. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Not because life is easy, not because we'll never face danger or heartbreak, but because God's presence is greater than our fear. Trust and fear will often battle for space in our hearts. Fear paralyzes. It convinces us to stay still, to shrink back, to run from what's uncomfortable. But trust, real trust, pushes us forward. It doesn't deny the fear. It simply refuses to let fear win. Trust says, yes, this is hard. Yes, I feel afraid. But I believe God is bigger than this fear, and I will walk forward anyway. God's perfect love casts out all fear, not by removing every storm, but by giving us a solid place to stand in the middle of it. When we anchor our hearts in his love, fear loses its grip. We remember that we're not facing life alone, that we are held, that we are protected, that we are guided. So when fear creeps in, and it will, don't pretend it's not there. Face it with faith. Speak truth to it. Remind your soul, God has brought me this far, and he will not leave me now. The shadows may fall, the unknown may loom, but God's presence is your light. And in that light, fear cannot stay. Choose trust, even trembling trust, because with him, even your weakest step forward is full of courage. Life brings pain. That's a reality we all face at some point. When the loss feels unbearable, when the betrayal cuts deep, when the silence from heaven feels louder than any answer. We don't get to skip the heartbreak, the confusion, or the seasons where nothing seems to make sense. And in those moments, trusting God may feel like the hardest thing to do. But it's also when trust becomes the most powerful, because it's easy to trust when things are going well. But to trust when life hurts? That's faith refined by fire. God never promised a life free from suffering. What he did promise is his presence, his closeness, his strength made perfect in our weakness. And that promise doesn't disappear when we're in pain. In fact, it becomes more real. When we can't rely on our feelings, when we can't find the words to pray, when we're simply holding on by a thread, that's when trust becomes a quiet declaration of surrender. God, I don't understand this. I don't like this, but I believe you're still with me in it. Trusting God when life hurts doesn't mean pretending everything is okay. It doesn't mean minimizing the pain. It means anchoring your heart in the truth that your suffering is not the end of the story, that God is still working, even in the brokenness, that his love still surrounds you, even in the darkest valley, that his promises are still true, even when the path is unclear. So if your heart is heavy today, if you're in a storm that feels too much to bear, take a deep breath. Let the tears fall if they need to. But as you do, whisper this truth into the silence. God, I trust you, even here, even now, even in the hurt, because he is still holding you, and he always will. The reward of trusting God isn't only found in the answers to your prayers or the resolution of your problems. It's found in the quiet transformation that takes place deep within you while you wait, while you believe, while you walk by faith and not by sight. When you choose to trust God, not just once, but day after day, you begin to live differently. You're no longer driven by fear or consumed by the need to control every outcome. You begin to rest in the truth that God is sovereign, loving, and deeply involved in every detail of your life. This kind of trust brings peace that doesn't make sense to the world. Peace in the middle of chaos. Confidence in the midst of uncertainty. Joy even when things aren't perfect. That's the beauty of trusting God. You're no longer tied to circumstances to find your stability. Your heart becomes anchored in something eternal, something unshakable. As you trust him, your eyes begin to open. You start to recognize his fingerprints on your journey. Moments of protection you didn't notice before, opportunities that came at just the right time, strength that carried you when you thought you had none left. You begin to see how he was working all along, even in the waiting, even in the silence. And you realize it wasn't just about getting through the hard times. It was about becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded in faith. The reward of trusting God is not just in what you gain. It's in who you become. A person of resilience, a soul rooted in peace, a heart that knows the shepherd's voice. So even when the path is uncertain, the reward is sure. He is faithful. He is with you. And when you trust him fully, you discover that he's been leading you to something far greater than you ever imagined. Not just a destination, but a deeper relationship with him. Trust is not a destination you arrive at and never leave. It's a lifelong journey. Some days, it will feel strong and certain. Other days, it will feel fragile and questioned. But what matters most is that you keep choosing it. One moment, one breath, one step at a time. Trust doesn't mean you won't have questions. It doesn't mean you'll never feel afraid. It means that even in your uncertainty, you're choosing to believe that God is still good, that he's still present, that he still holds your life in his hands. This journey of trust is built in the daily moments, the quiet prayers, the whispered God, I need you, the act of letting go when you want to cling tight. Every time you choose to turn to him instead of away from him, you're growing your faith. Every time you place your fear in his hands, you're deepening your confidence in his character. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to be willing to lean on him. So when life feels heavy, when you don't know which way to go, when your heart aches with unanswered questions, choose trust. Not because you understand everything, but because you believe God does. Trust in his timing, even when it feels slow. Trust in his plan, even when it feels hidden. Trust in his presence, even when you feel alone. You're not forgotten. You're not walking this path alone. God is with you in every step, in every silence, in every struggle. And his love will never let you go. So whatever today holds, however uncertain tomorrow may seem, make this your steady resolve. I will trust God always, because He is worthy, He is faithful, and He is holding you every step of the way. Take a deep breath. Let the tension leave your shoulders. Let the weight of everything you've been carrying slowly ease as you remember this simple truth. You are not alone, and you were never meant to carry it all by yourself. You don't need to have every answer. You don't need to see the full path ahead. You don't need to fix everything or figure everything out. All you need to do is trust in the one who already knows the way. God is not asking you to be perfect. He's not demanding flawless faith. He's inviting you to rest, to release, to surrender. Trusting Him doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It just means fear doesn't get the final say. It means choosing to place your heart in His hands again and again, knowing He will never let it fall. His grip is secure. His love is constant, and His promises are unshakable. So as you pause in this moment, let your soul be still. Let your mind quiet down. And remember, the same God who spoke the universe into being is the one who holds your life together. Not a single moment is missed by Him. Not a single tear is wasted. He is working in silence, moving in the unseen, and holding you closer than you know. Let your heart rest. Let your spirit breathe. Trust God always, not just in the good times, but in every time. Today, tomorrow, and every day that follows. Because no matter what comes, His love will remain. His faithfulness will stand, and His presence will never leave your side. You are safe, you are seen, and you are held. Always.